There is a small road running along the edge of an old town. During the day, there is nothing special about it. A few trees, a few houses, and a convenience shop that hasn't been repaired in years. But on certain evenings, when the sky fades into twilight, if you walk slowly enough, you might notice a small wooden sign hanging on the brick wall, right at the corner. On that sign, written in slightly faded black ink, are the words, "The Post Office for Unwritten Letters." Not everyone sees it. And not everyone has the patience to stop. That day, Min, a young man, walked down that road with heavy shoulders. In his backpack he carried only a few things. A light jacket, a bottle of water, and a neatly folded stack of papers. But the heaviest thing was inside his chest. A tight, unnamed feeling. He had just been through a difficult time. A relationship falling apart. Words left unsaid. The "I'm sorry" and a thank you that never found their way out. And above all, a vague sense of regret. As if he had lost something truly important without realizing it. Min wasn't out for a walk. He was simply moving so he wouldn't have to stay still. Then he stopped in front of the wooden sign. "The Post Office for Unwritten Letters." He read each word slowly. The name felt strange, and yet it touched something inside him. The post office door was wooden, not large. The glass panel was slightly fogged, with a warm, soft light spilling from within. Through it, one could see wooden shelves, a few tables, and small compartments arranged neatly like a honeycomb. Min hesitated for a moment, then pushed the door open. The wind chime above rang softly, releasing a clear, gentle sound. Like a quiet greeting. Inside, the post office was so silent Min could hear his own footsteps on the tiled floor. The scent of old paper and ink blended with a hint of tea. The warm yellow lights were not too bright. Just enough to let everything appear calm, gentle, unhurried. Behind the wooden counter sat an old man with snow-white hair, sorting envelopes one by one. Hearing the chime, he lifted his head and smiled. "Hello there," he said, his voice low and gentle, as if he had spent a lifetime speaking softly. "Are you here to send a letter?" Min hesitated. No. I was just passing by." The name of this place sounded strange, so I came in to take a look. The old man nodded, as though he had heard that sentence countless times before. Most people who find their way here say the same thing. He pointed toward a small wooden table by the window. "If there's something you wish to write, something you haven't been able to send, or don't know who to send it to, you can sit there." Min blinked in surprise. "But, a post office is supposed to deliver letters to someone, right? Here, who do the letters go to?" The old man smiled. His eyes were full of wrinkles, yet warm and bright. "Here, we send letters where they're meant to go, but only when the writer's heart is truly at peace. If there's too much turmoil inside, the post office cannot send them yet." Min didn't quite understand. Yet something inside him trembled gently at those words. He sat down at the wooden table by the window. Outside, the sky was turning a deep shade of blue. The row of houses in the distance glowed with warm yellow lights shining through their windows. People hurried home. The world seemed to recede, leaving only him and this quiet room, filled with the scent of paper and the softness of lamplight. On the table lay sheets of blank paper and empty envelopes. A fountain pen rested patiently beside them, waiting for someone's hand to lift it. Min took a breath. He thought of the face he hadn't seen in a long time. He thought of unfinished conversations. Of arguments, half-typed messages deleted before being sent. And all the words that had remained stuck in his throat. His hand trembled slightly as he held the pen. The first line appeared on the paper. "Dear." He paused. He didn't know whose name to write. A friend who had drifted away? A loved one who was gone? Or himself from years ago? In the end, he wrote only, "To the one I haven't had the courage to face for a long time." The words began to spill out, hesitant at first, then faster, almost urgent. He wrote about his exhaustion, about the feeling of not being understood, about all the moments he wanted to speak, but feared being judged. In every line, there was anger, and there was hurt. The ink pressed deep into the paper, the letters leaning slightly forward as if they were running. When he finished, he folded the letter, sealed it in an envelope, and walked to the counter. I want to send this letter, Min said, his voice slightly hoarse. The old man gently accepted the envelope. He turned it over, front and back. He didn't ask for an address, nor did he look for a stamp. Instead, he placed the envelope on a small scale beside the counter. The scale looked old, but its needle was sharp, as if it always knew exactly what it was measuring. The needle trembled, but it didn't stop at a number indicating weight. It spun once, and came to rest in a gray section, where a tiny line of text read, "Still too heavy." The old man glanced at the scale, then at Min. "This letter cannot be sent yet," he said slowly. "It still carries too much anger, too much sadness. If we send it now, the recipient will feel only the wound, not the heart behind it." Min frowned. "But I wrote what I truly feel. If I can't send it, then what am I supposed to do?" The old man didn't answer immediately. He took the envelope and walked toward a tall wooden cabinet filled with many small drawers. Each drawer had a small label, with phrases such as, "Unspoken apologies," "Things I wanted to explain," "Moments I blamed myself," "Words of gratitude I was too shy to say." He opened one drawer labeled, "Letters that are still too heavy." Inside were many envelopes already placed there, each written in a different hand. He gently set Min's letter among them. "Here, letters like yours are kept," he said softly. "You can come back anytime. Read them again. Rewrite them. Throw them away, or add more. One day, when your heart has settled, the weight will ease, and the letter will be ready to be sent." Min remained silent. He didn't feel rejected. Instead, he felt something strange, as if someone had just told him, "It's all right. You're allowed to not be ready yet. You can take your time." Before Min left the post office, the old man poured him a cup of hot tea. "Everyone who comes here for the first time thinks the important thing is sending the letter," he said with a gentle smile. "But in truth, what matters is whether the writer, after writing, can sit quietly with themselves." Min held the warm cup in his hands. The heat slipped between his cold fingers. He said nothing more. That evening, he left the post office when the sky had turned completely dark. The street lights glowed. The wooden sign behind him slowly blurred into the mist. In the days that followed, Min's life remained as busy as ever. Work, meetings, unanswered messages, appointments piled on top of one another. And sometimes, in those rare quiet flashes, the image of the little scale and the drawer full of letters would appear in his mind. He wondered, "Where is my letter now? Is it still as heavy as that day?" One late afternoon, after a long day, Min walked once more on that old road. It wasn't by chance this time, it was on purpose. The post office for unwritten letters was still there. The wooden sign still hung in its place. The warm yellow light still glowed through the window pane. The wind chime rang with a clear, delicate sound as he opened the door once more. The old man was still sitting behind the counter, as if he had never left that spot. "You've come back," he said, as though he had expected it. Min gave an awkward smile. "Could I see the letter from last time?" The old man nodded and walked toward the wooden cabinet. He opened the same drawer as before. From among many envelopes inside, he picked out one, examined it briefly, and handed it to Min. "Here is your letter." Min sat down at the old table by the window. Outside, it wasn't raining, but the clouds drifted slowly, and the light felt soft, like an afternoon that wished to stay quiet. He opened the envelope and slit the letter out. The handwriting was still his. The slanted lines, the dark ink. He reread every sentence. This time, the words no longer felt like a release. They felt like a mirror, showing him the version of himself from that day. Tired, hurt, defensive. He suddenly realized. In that letter, he wrote so much about what he had endured. But almost. Not a single line asked, what was the other person going through? Or, what had I kept silent from myself? Min set the letter down on the table and took a slow, deep breath. The old man walked over, unhurried, a different pen in his hand. If you'd like, you can write more, he said. You don't need to erase what you wrote before. Just be honest with yourself, in this moment. Min looked at the paper. He didn't cross out a single line. He simply continued writing below it. The letters smaller, slower. To the one I haven't had the courage to face for a long time. The last time I wrote the lines above, I was angry. I felt abandoned. I felt misunderstood. But reading them again today, I realize I never truly spoke about my fears either. I stayed silent and waited for someone else to guess. I wanted to be held, but pretended to be strong. If there ever comes a time when you feel tired, I hope you have a place to lean on. Even if, now, that place is no longer me. As Min wrote that last line, his hand slowed. He didn't cry. But inside him was a kind of ache. Softer, quieter. He folded the letter, slid it back into the old envelope, and sealed it. This time, when he handed the envelope to the old man, he said nothing. He only gave a small nod. The old man placed the envelope on the little scale once more. The needle quivered. It spun in a full circle. Then it stopped. Not in the gray zone this time, but in a lighter colored section marked with the words, "Has lightened a great deal." The old man picked up the envelope and brushed his hand gently across it, almost as if offering a quiet congratulations. "It still can't be sent," he said. But there was a glimmer of happiness in his eyes. "But you see? It's lighter now." Min let out a small laugh. "So, I'll need to come back again." "It's not that you need to," the old man corrected softly. "You're welcome to return, if you want to." Time passed. Min went on with his life. But from then on, the little post office became a place he thought of whenever something unspoken stirred in his chest. He returned a few more times. Each visit, he opened the letter, read it, and wrote a little more. Sometimes, he added a line of apology. Sometimes he added a few words of gratitude. And once, he wrote to himself, "Min, you did the best you could with what you had back then." Gradually, the letter no longer sounded like an accusation. It became the story of someone learning to understand himself, and to understand others. Until one day, when the season had shifted and the wind carried a light chill, Min stepped into the post office again. This time, there was a strange calmness inside him. The sadness was still there, but its edges were no longer sharp. Like a healed scar that still stings when touched, but no longer bleeds. He opened the letter again. He read from the first lines, angry and restless, to the later ones, slower and softer. Finally, he added a short passage. "If this letter ever reaches you, I don't expect you to reply. I only want you to know that even though we can't go back to how we once were, I'm still grateful for the days we shared. I forgive you. And I'm learning to forgive myself." He put his pen down. A wave of lightness spread through his chest, down to his fingertips. This time, when the old man placed the envelope on the scale, Min watched with a hint of anticipation in his heart. The needle quivered, then slowly settled on a very pale area, almost transparent. On it, only one line appeared. "Light enough to send." The old man nodded gently. "It's time." He picked up a small wooden stamp, dipped it into a kind of clear ink, and pressed it softly onto the envelope. No red seal appeared, no visible mark. But the moment the stamp touched the surface, the envelope glowed faintly for a heartbeat, then returned to normal. "So, that's it?" Min asked, half believing, half doubting. "Yes," the old man replied. "From this moment on, it no longer belongs to you. It will find its way to where it needs to go. Perhaps into that person's hands. Perhaps into a corner of your own memory. Or perhaps, into a place where every honest word is always heard." Min remained silent for a long time. "I still feel a little sad," he admitted. "But I can breathe easier." The old man smiled, his eyes calm, as if he had witnessed this scene countless times. "People often think that peace only comes when sadness is gone," he said. "But truly, peace is simply when we accept that sadness is also part of the story. Not pushing it away. Not letting it steer our whole life." Min looked around the post office one last time. The drawers filled with letters. The envelopes that were still heavy, waiting for their owners to return. The desks with blank paper, ready for new stories. He thanked the old man and bowed deeply. Before stepping out, he asked, "If, one day I have another letter, can I come back?" The old man smiled. Gentle as the warm yellow light behind Min's back. "This door is always open for those who carry unsaid words, but are willing to learn how to listen to themselves," he said. "And if someday you walk by and no longer see this post office, then perhaps by that time, you will already know how to write, send, and soothe your own heart." Min stepped out of the post office. The evening settled softly, not too dark, not too bright. He walked along the narrow road, feeling each step grow a little lighter. In his backpack, there was no letter. But in his heart, it felt as if one door had closed gently, leaving space for another to open. Somewhere behind him, the wind chime at the post office door rang again. Maybe because of the breeze. Or maybe because another letter had just found its rightful place. As for the other letters, the unwritten words, they still rested quietly in the wooden drawers, waiting for their writers to return. Not hurried. Not forced. Just patiently. Waiting for the day their hearts became calm enough to release those words. Light as a long exhale. And if one day, in a tired afternoon, you walk down a small road in some distant town, perhaps you'll see a wooden sign with the words, "The Post Office for Unwritten Letters." And perhaps, you too have a letter that needs to be written. Not to send to someone far away, but to send to yourself. In a rare, quiet moment of peace in this hurried life.